డైరెక్ట్ ఉంది కదా అది పక్కది.
Ira PPT.
ఉమ్.
Okay. So, good evening. This is Anita, guest faculty in computer science, working in an TTWRTC, Mahbub Nagar. Uh, Subject. Now I'm going to, my subject is software engineering. Within that, my topic is software process models and software design. So before we are going to design, so before we are going to design, there we have to follow some model. Model, that is the stages of software development model. Okay, so what are the phases that are used to develop a project? Means first one is analysis, next we have design, deployment, testing, implementation, then we have maintenance. Now first come to the analysis. Analysis means what? We gather in an analysis, so we should analyze the project. We have to analyze the software. So how to analyze means first we have to, it is a first phase, no? So here we have to collect the requirements. We have to collect the requirements. Collecting the requirement is nothing but, we call it as an elicitation. Collecting the requirement is nothing but an elicitation. So after collecting the requirement, we have to analyze it, analyze the requirements. Means here we have to see what is the cost that taken by a software and what is the time to complete that requirements, is nothing but an analysis of an requirement. Once we analyze all the requirements that we collect, so we have to document it. We have to document it. After the documentation is made, then we have to review all the requirements. So before, so how to collect these requirements? These requirements can be collected in by interview or brainstorming session. Interview means what? See, if we have a small project, then we can interview the customer, then we can gather all the details of a project. If we have a big project like satellite launching or weather forecasting projects, so for these big projects, we have to conduct a brainstorming session. In this brainstorming session, all the experts, okay, all the software developers will come and they give the requirements, okay, and from them we have to gather the requirements if the project is complex and it is a very lengthy project. So in this way we have to gather it. Then these requirements can be of functional requirement and non-functional requirement. So functional requirement are nothing but what the system should do, is nothing but a functional requirement. What the system must do is nothing but a functional requirement. Then here non-functional requirements. Non-functional requirements means what? How the system should behave. How the system should behave while performing some operations. Okay, here the requirements are nothing but the services that we are going to keep in a software, in a project, in a software project. And so functional requirements is nothing but what the system is going, what type of services we have to keep is nothing but a functional requirement. Non-functional requirement means what? How those are working. What is the performance of those requirement is nothing but a non-functional requirement. Now come to the, see, we have an analysis phase. Analysis. In this stage, the requirements of the project are gathered and analyzed. Then come to the second phase, that is nothing but the designing. Okay, designing. This is the stage in which the project is designed, prepared from the requirement. According to the requirement, this project should be designed. In the design phase, we have to divide the project into models, the models into sub-models. Within the sub-models, we have to take some components. We have to design some components. Okay. Then deployment. In this stage, actual coding is developed. Actual coding is developed. It is the main focus of the developer. Here, in the deployment phase only, the developer should work more. It is a time-consuming process for the developer to develop a project, to write the code. See, to write the code, we can use any type of programming language. It may be a procedural language or it may be non-procedural language. Procedural language may be C, Pascal. These are the old languages, but C is an evergreen language where we have to write the coding. Next, object-oriented languages. Object-oriented languages are nothing but C++, Java. Now we have different types of OOPS concepts like a Python. There we are using the all procedure and non-procedural concepts. So if you are developing a website, then we have to use JavaScript, VB script, HTML. There we have XML. Now JSP. These are the different things that are used to develop websites. Now come to the testing. After the coding is developed, these coding should be tested. These coding should be tested. First, these testings are nothing but the functional testing, unit testing, integration testing, systems testing. Now I'm going to explain the testing topic after this. Next, implementation. After successful testing of the project, we have project is delivered to the customer to use. If any change is required or any bugs are caught, then they will be report to the engineering team to remove the bugs. Okay, so here see, we have after here it is nothing but a developing. We have developed all the features. Okay, we have developed all the requirements and we are given to the customer. So what customer will do? Customer will check all the requirements. Okay, after giving up, check all the requirements. We have to give some training how to use those product. Okay, once we give the training, this person, the customer, will go through that project and see whether if the person is using, then he may get some bugs. He may get some bugs. Then if the bugs is come, then what will happen? He will report to the software engineering team so that this team will remove the bugs. So it is developed. The implementation is nothing but a develop. Now come to the maintenance. After developing the project, next come to the maintenance. Okay, in the maintenance, then again here we have, and in this stage a care is taken for the developed project. Okay, though the project is developed, though the project is developed, now we have to take some care. If any problem comes up and need to be solved time to time, it is maintenance. Okay, see, maintenance means now if you buy a project, buy anything, they will give some warranty, 1 year warranty. 1 year warranty means what? Within that year, if any mistake is done, okay, and if anything happened to that product, then they will rectify that mistake. Okay, so that is nothing but a maintenance. See, here we have two testings, alpha testing and then beta testing. Alpha testing means what? Within the industry, software industry, they will test the project. It is nothing but an alpha testing. After the alpha testing, all the errors are removed, all the bugs are removed, then it will given to the, then that will come to the maintenance. At this maintenance, beta testing is taken place. Beta testing means what? Your software is released to the market and they will, the customers use that product. If they are if the customers are different, customers are using that product, then if at all we are getting an error, any mistakes or any errors, that is also a rectified. Okay, so this is nothing but implementation and then maintenance. Now come to the different types of testings in a software. Software we have different types of testings. What are they? Functional testing, non-functional testing. So functional testing, the functional testings are nothing but unit testing, integration testing, system testing, alpha testing, beta testing, regression testing, acceptance testing. Okay, so these are nothing but the functional. Non-functional means here performance testing, load testing, test testing, security testing, usability testing, then compatibility testing. Now we'll discuss each and every testing. So now come to the unit testing. See, unit testing. Unit testing means we have a models. The project will have a models. Again, these models will have submodels. These submodels may have some components. Okay, so we have the components is the least unit of a project. Least unit of a project that should be tested is nothing but an unit testing. Unit testing is an individual testing of individual component is nothing but an unit testing. Now integration testing. Integration testing means what? All the units are combined of a model. All the units of a models are combined and they will test it. Okay. So after the integration testing, system testing is done. System testing means what? All the models, the whatever models we are divide in the project, all the models are tested. Okay, so that is nothing but a system testing. I'll give one example. See now, if at all now we want to develop a project of a college. So college will have different groups. College will have different groups. Okay, so like MPC, then MPCS. These are the different groups. Each group will have first year, second year, and final year. Okay, first year, second year, and then final year. So in the first year, okay, we should take one student. If one student is nothing but, and testing the data of a single student is nothing but a unit testing. Testing a data of a whole class is nothing but whole classes is nothing but an, and a whole class of a group is nothing but an integration testing. Testing of complete groups that are present in a college is nothing but a system testing. Okay, now come to then alpha testing. Alpha test, just now I explained alpha testing and beta testing. So here alpha testing is nothing but an informal testing. Alpha testing is nothing but an informal testing. Beta test is nothing but an formal testing. Why we call it as an informal testing? Means alpha test, it is the most common type of testing used in software industry, in which issues and defects are identified before release the project. Okay, what are the issues and what are the errors, what are the bugs that are present in and software, that are all tested within a people of a software industry. So this is nothing, that's why we call it as an informal, we call it as an informal testing. Now come to the beta testing. Beta testing means what? It is a formal testing. Beta testing will done after releasing the product into the market. And so beta testing means what? Here all the different kind of customers will go for a test. Beta testing is a formal type of software testing which is carried out by the customer. It is performed in a real environment. Okay, this beta testing is performed in a real time environment. Okay, by different customers. Okay, so that is nothing but a beta testing. Now regression testing. Come to the regression testing. Regression testing means, okay, we have developed the software. So after developing a software, what we have to do? We have to keep some applications. Okay, we have to work out that project on some application. Uh, so whether that application is working on that project or not, we have to see that. We call it as a regression testing. For this regression testing, we have to use some special types of automating testing tools. We have to use automating testing tools for a regression testing. Now come to the acceptance testing. In this, this is performed by the client and verify whether it works as per the business requirement. As per the business requirement, client accept the software only when all the features and the functionalities work as expected. Means what? Whatever the requirements that he given, that is taken by the customer, that requirement should be fulfilled. Okay, and that requirement should be accepted by the customer. So that is nothing but an acceptance testing. Requirement should be work perfect. So that is nothing but an acceptance testing. Okay, so now come to the non-functional testing. Non-functional testing. The first one, we have the performance testing. Before that performance testing, we have to discuss, we have to know what is load and then stress. Once we know the load testing and stress testing, then these two are done, these two covered in a performance testing. Load testing means what? Load testing means how much workload the system can handle. How much workload the system can handle. Okay, so that is nothing but a load testing. Now come to the stress. Stress testing means what? Putting in heavy work. Heavy work. Or if see, in a load testing means if you are increasing the load, we have developed a software. That software will accept only 150 members. Okay, 150 members. If we increase the capacity of an customers to 200, then here we are increasing the load on the project. If we increase the load on the project, then we have to see whether that load is accepted by the software or not. It is nothing but a load testing. Load testing. Now stress testing means if the system should work not only for a simple but also for a complex, and for a large data. Complex database query should also run on the project, and the system should able to take the large amount of data, large size of data. Some crores of data should also taken by the system. So that is nothing but a stress testing. Okay, now come to the performance testing. So performance testing, the performance is nothing but it is a combination of stress and load testing. Performance, if these two are correct, then the performance of the system should be correct. Okay, so that is why this performance is depend on load testing and stress testing. Now come to the security testing. Security testing. Security testing means, see, how the software should protect from internal and external threats. Internals and external threats. Okay. So internal threat means what? Within the software. External threat means what? Externally, if they are anyone is using the system, anyone want to corrupt the system, then that should not be corrupted. That should not be corrupted. Okay. So that that is nothing but an security testing. Internal guy, it should be good. Okay. Internal guy, we have to provide the security. From external environment also, we should protect our software. So that is nothing but an security testing. Now come to the reusability. Okay, sorry, usability testing. Usability testing means what? And the software should be user friendly. The software should be user friendly, that is easy to use, and that should be easy to understand. Easy to use and easy to understand. So that is nothing but usability testing. Now come to the compatibility testing. Compatibility testing means what? The software run on a different compatibility ante enti, the software should run in any type of a platform, that is in a different configuration. Okay, so like different database, the software should accept different database, it should accept different browsers, okay, different operating systems and different Windows versions, okay, different configurations. So this is nothing but a compatibility testing. Okay, so these are the different types of testing that can be performed in a software, in a software. Next, now come to the software development model. Okay, here we have software process models. Software process models, those are nothing but waterfall model, then iterative model, then we have spiral model. Okay, waterfall, iterative, then spiral model. So now come to the first one. So waterfall model. See, a waterfall model was the first process model to be introduced. This is the first model that was introduced to develop a software. It also referred to as a linear sequential life cycle model. Okay, we call it as a linear sequential life cycle model. It is very simple to understand and use. It is very simple to understand and use. In waterfall model, each phase must be completed before the next phase can begin. There is no overlapping in the phases. There is no overlapping in the phases. Okay, so what are the steps that are used in a waterfall model? Means first one is the requirement. The requirement, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and then maintenance. Okay, so waterfall means what? How water will flow from top to bottom, from higher altitude to lower altitude. The water will flow from higher altitude to lower altitude. In this way, similar, so these steps should be followed. The first step should be followed as a requirement gathering, requirement analysis. Once the requirements are cleared and correct without any ambiguity, then we should go to the next phase. We should not go to the next phase. That is nothing but a system design. So in the system design, we have to design the systems. There we have to divide the project into a different models according to the requirements, again the sub models, again the components, then designing the components. Once the designing is clear, okay, once the designing is clear, then we should move to the implementation. We should move to the implementation. Implementation means what? We have to write the coding. Coding should be written in an implementation part. Once the implementation is completed, okay, then we have to move to the testing. We have to move to the testing. different types of testings are there. Those testings are tested in a testing phase. After that, we have deployment. Okay, deployment means what? So we have to integrate all the components. We have to integrate all the components, and we have to make a final product. We have to make a final product in the deployment phase. Then after that, we have a maintenance. After making the final component, in the maintenance, okay, in the maintenance, we have to release that product into the market and see how this product is working by a different customers. What are the errors that are coming up when they are using that? If at all any errors will come, they will rectify it. Again, they will release the product. Okay, so here waterfall means what? We have to follow step by step. Here we should not. So we'll discuss about what are the advantages and disadvantages of this waterfall model. So waterfall model advantages are nothing but it is simple. Okay, it is simple and easy to use, easy to manage. Then we have it work for a small project. It work for a small project. తర్వాత ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి here once we complete we should not go back. We should not move back when you are developing a project. Okay, always we have to go to the in front. Okay, but we cannot move to the back, and the back faces we cannot jump. Okay, so similarly we cannot jump to higher to lower faces. Compulsory here we have to follow the rule is that when the phase is completed, okay, requirement is phase completed, then we have to move to the next is system design. If the system design is completed, then we have to go to the implementation. Okay, like this we have to follow one by one. That's why we call it as a waterfall model. So what are the disadvantages of this waterfall model? Means here we cannot add the requirements in when you are developing the project. So all complete requirements should be taken at the analysis phase, first phase itself. Okay, this is one drawback, and it is not applicable for a large product. It is not applicable for a large product. So it is not for and we cannot change the requirement of the product. So these are the disadvantages of a waterfall model. Next we'll go for iterative model. Iterative process starts with a simple implementation of a subset of the software requirement. Iteratively enhance the evaluating version until the full system is implemented. At each iteration, modifications are made and new functionalities and capabilities are added. Okay, so the basic idea behind this model is to develop a system through repetitive cycle. They develop the system through repetitive cycle and in small portion at a time. So here the iterative model means here we have iteration means what? Repeating the same thing. Repeating the same thing again and again is nothing but an iteration. So here in this iteration model, we have to take some requirements after in the first phase. Okay, the first iteration, we have to take some requirements. Then we have to design it and then designing and developing. After that, we have to test it. Then we have to implement it. This is the first iteration. Now again from this, we have to go to the second iteration. At the second iteration also, what again we have to take some requirement. Again we have to design it. We have to test it and then implement it. Okay, so these iterations will go on continue until we get the final product, until we get the final software. So it is nothing but an iterative model. It is nothing but an iterative model. So what are the advantages of this iterative model? Means, see, some new functions can be developed quickly. Okay, here the new functions can develop quickly. That is what we are adding the functionalities, we are designing, testing, and then implementing. Okay, at one iterations, we'll get the functions, we are adding the functions, and we are implementing the functions. How the at the first iteration only itself, we know how these functionalities are working. Results are obtained easily and periodically. Okay, results are obtained periodically. Okay, means for each iteration we are getting the results. Now it is less cost to change. Okay, if at all you want to change on any functionalities within the list cost, we can change the functionalities in an iterative model. Testing, debugging during the small iterations. Okay, here for each small iterations we have to do testing and then debugging. Risks are identified. Okay, here the risk also identified. Now it is better for a large product and complex project. Now we'll see what are the disadvantages. The disadvantages is nothing but it required more resources. It required more resources. Then it is not suitable for a small project. It is not suitable for a small project. Risk is analysis at each iteration. Here the risk is there. Risk is analysis for each iteration. Okay. Now come to the spiral model. This spiral model is similar to the iterations, but here it is a risky related model. It is a risky related model. Means for each iterations we are concentrating on the risk. Okay, the risk may be related to the cost, the risk may be related to the technology, or it may be related to the time, or it may be related to the schedules. Okay, so now we'll discuss each and every phases that are used in a spiral model. The spiral model has 4 phases. A software project repetitively pass through these phases iteratively. So first one is identification. First one is an identification. This phase also include understanding the requirement by continuous communication between the customers and the system analysis. Okay, so here what system analysis, nothing but what he will do, he will analyze the requirements that we gathered. Okay, it is nothing but an identifying, at the end of the spiral. Okay, the product is developed in an identified mark. Okay, so final product will be developed at the end of the spiral. Now design. The design phase starts with the conceptual design in the baseline spiral and involve architectural design, logical design, then we have physical product design, and final product design. So in the designing, so these kind of designing can be can taken place. Now come to the construct or build. The construction phase refers to a production of actual software product. At every spiral, construction means what? There we are constructing the product. We are constructing the product. We are building the product. Now come to the risk analysis. See, here in this spiral model, for each iteration, we have the risk analysis phase. Risk analysis phase is the final phase. Okay, why? What type of risk we are facing in the throughout the spiral? Okay, is done at the last. That is nothing but a risk analysis. So the risk analysis include identifying, establishing, and monitoring the technical risk, management risk, such as scheduling and cost. Okay, so the risk may be come from the technical. It may be technical or non-technical. The risk may be come from the management. The risk may be from schedule. The risk may be from cost. Okay, for each iteration key, risk is considered. In the spiral model is mainly focus on a risk. Mainly focus on a risk. Now we'll see what are the advantages and disadvantages of the spiral model. So the spiral model is risk handling. It can handle if and if you are working with a risky project, then it is better to choose spiral model. So spiral model advantage is nothing but risk handling. We can handle risk easily. Next we have large product. It is used for a large product, not for a small project. So it is flexible. It is flexible. Why it is flexible means for each iteration, for each spiral key, we are identifying the risk. Okay, so we are identifying the risk, and that risk may not be there for a second spiral, for a second round. Next, customer satisfaction. Here in the spiral model, customer is involved more. Customer involvement is more. So for each round, for each spiral round, the customer will see. So what will happen, what type of risk that the project is having, that the customer will know. Now the disadvantages. Okay, disadvantages is nothing but here it is complex. Here it is complex. Why it is complex means here we are having the risk related software, no? So it is complex. Now come to the expensive. It is expensive. How we can say it is expensive means as this spirals increases, then the automatically time increases. As the time increases, the cost also increases. Next it is a time taking. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of a spiral model. So see, this is a spiral model. The first one is the identification. The second one is design. Next we have construct. Then we have evaluation of the risk. Evaluation of the risk. Okay. Now come to the software design. Okay, now software design. See the definition of after completion of this analysis phase, now we have to go for the design. So which is my topic is a software design. Before that, I discussed about waterfall models. Okay, the waterfall model, spiral model, and then iterative model. These are nothing but the software development models. Now now I'm going to discuss about software design. Software design. It is a process of transforming the user requirement into that form which helps the programmer in software coding and implementing. Here, what in the designing part, what we have to do, we have to design a requirement in such a way that it should be easy for coding and implementing. So this is nothing but a designing phase. So here we have software designing levels. We have two types of levels, that is nothing but an architecture design level, then detailed design level. Now come to the architecture design levels. It is the highest abstract version of the system. It is the highest version of an abstract system where the project is divided into models and interaction of each model. So it is an highest means what? Once we get the project, this project will be divided into some models. Okay, models. Then we have to see what is the interaction among the models. So this is done at an architecture level. Now come to the design level. Detailed design. Detailed means what? Each and every model should be analyzed. Okay, that model should be divided into submodels. Again, these submodels may have some components. Okay, so like this, we have to go to the in-depth of the design, in-depth of the model. In depth, we have to design the model is nothing but a detailed design. Define the logical structure. of each model and interface to communicate with other model, and we have to develop the interface how to communicate with an other model. Here in an logical structure of the model is developed in a detailed design. It focus on implementation of the model. It focus on implementation of the model. Now come to the modernization. In general, modernization is nothing but dividing a model into a submodel, dividing a model into a submodel, and dividing a program into a subprograms is nothing but a modularization. Why we are taking consider why we have to use this modularization means in order to reduce the complexity. In order to reduce the complexity, we have to use this modularization. So now see what is modularization. It is a technique of dividing a software system into multiple discrete independent models. Okay, so there we are dividing a software system into some models. Okay, in order to reduce the complexity of a software. So this is nothing but modularization. Next we have software design strategies. Software design strategies. So what are the strategies that are used to design a software? Is nothing but structural design, functional design, object-oriented design. Object-oriented design. Now come to the structural design. Structural design is based on divide and conquered. Divide and conquered. A good structural design follow the cohesion and coupling. Cohesion and coupling. Here, divide and conquer means what? Okay, design structure. We are using this. It is based on divide and conquer. Means what? There we are going to divide the project. There we are going to divide the project. After dividing it, what we have to do? Again, we have to recombine it. Again we have to recombine the project. So depending upon some logic we have to divide. Okay, again by using some logic we have to club it. So this is nothing but divide and conquer. See, we have different types of algorithms, different types of sorting algorithms. There quicksort and the mid, in quicksort and midsort we used to this divide and conquer. This quicksort and midsort are based on this the concept, that is nothing but divide and conquer. So now come to the cohesion and coupling. Coupling means what? There by combining all the models, there we have to depending upon some relations we are clubbing the models is nothing but a coupling. Cohesion means what? Within the model, within the model how the functions are interrelated is nothing but a cohesion. So this come under structure design. Now come to the functional design. Functional design. In this, whole system is divided into small functions. These functions share the information that is available globally. See, whenever we are working with a function, these functions will have two types of data. Two types of data. That is global data and local data. Local data means what? This local data is defined and used within the function. It is nothing but a local data. Global data means what? This global data can be used by any functions. Okay, any functions within the model. So it is nothing but a global data. Now come to the object-oriented design. Object-oriented design. In this object-oriented program design, we have to use these features, OOPS features. So what are the OOPS features? The OOPS features are nothing but we have like class, object, then we have encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding. So these are nothing but the OOPS features. Okay, if we are these are nothing but an OOP features. Now come to the class. What is class? Class is nothing but the combination of attributes and functions. Attributes means nothing but a variables and then functions. It combined, we call it as a class. Now come to the object. Object. Object definition is instant of class. Why we are calling is instant of class? Okay. Without an object, we cannot work within class. If at all you want to work with a class, you need an object. With the help of this object only, you are interacting. To interact to the class, here we are creating. Okay, on the spot, we are creating the object. Okay, that's why object is an instant of class. Object name anta we call it as an instant of class. Okay, appadikappudu we are creating and using the class data. If at all you want to use the class data, we need something. Okay, that is nothing but an object. So object is called as an instant of class. Next we have object, class. Next we have encapsulation. Encapsulation means what? A wrapping of functions, a wrapping of variables and functions into one unit. Combining into one unit is nothing but an encapsulation. Okay, encapsulation. That is nothing but we call it as an indirectly it is a class. Indirectly it is a class. So now come to the abstraction. What is abstraction? Abstract means what? See, whenever we are going to develop a project or develop a thesis or anything, if you are writing a paper, or if you are presenting a paper, then we write first abstraction. Abstraction means what here? A brief description of a product, of a software is nothing but an abstraction. Means showing the essential features and hiding the internal details is nothing but an abstraction. Abstraction ante enti? Showing the essential features, hiding the internal details is nothing but an abstraction. So now come to the inheritance. What is an inheritance? Inheritance means what? Deriving a class. Okay, deriving a class from a base class. Means what? And deriving a class, and a new class is developing from the old class. This new class will have the functionalities and the properties of an old class. Okay, that is nothing but inheritance. See, we are the children of a parent. Okay, parent is a base class. We are the children are the derived class. Okay, this derived class and will have the properties of parent class, and it will have its own properties. Okay, that is nothing but a derived class. Okay, this is the concept of an inheritance. Okay, next we have polymorphism. Polymorphism means what? Same thing can be used for multiple purpose. Same thing can be used for multiple purpose. This polymorphism in OOPS can be of two types: runtime polymorphism, compile time polymorphism. The runtime polymorphism's key example is nothing but function overloading and operator overloading. But for an runtime polymorphism, we have virtual functions. Dynamic binding. Dynamic binding means what? Dynamic binding is nothing but that is done at an execution of the program. While we are executing the program, so whatever functions we are using, we are calling with an object, thus functions are executed at the dynamic binding. Okay, at the dynamic binding means what? All the functions related to a class are executed with the help of an object, is nothing but a dynamic binding. So these are the OOPS features. Now come to the coupling. What is coupling? Okay, in software engineering, coupling is the degree of interdependency between the software models. Coupling means what? Interdependency between software models. How these models are interrelated, how they are dependent is nothing but a coupling. Here we have two types of coupling. Okay, so depending upon the dependencies, depending upon the dependencies are interaction. Here loosely coupling and tightly coupling. Loosely coupling means what? Here the less interaction will be there. If it is a less interaction among the models, it is nothing but a loose coupling. Tight coupling means what? It means the more interaction among the models. If the more interaction among the models, then we call it as a tight coupling. Now, depending upon the functionalities, okay, depending upon the functionalities, these couplings are of 5 types. What are they? Data coupling, stamp coupling, control coupling, common coupling, content coupling, common coupling and then content coupling. So now come to the data coupling. In data coupling, one function pass the data to another function that is used for a calculations. Means what? And to do some calculations or manipulations or updations or some modifications. In data coupling, what it will do means one function data is passed to the another function. Here data is passing. Okay, why we are passing the data? To do some manipulations, to do some modifications or some additions or some calculations. Okay, now stamp coupling. In the stamp coupling, composite data structure will be shared. If we are having a common data structure, so that data structure can be shared. See, we have one model, that model is using a stack data structure. In A model is using the stack data structure, B model is using the queue data structure. Okay, sometime what will happen, this data structure may interchange, okay, among the models. That is nothing but a stamp coupling. Now control coupling. Controlling means what? It in control coupling, one model decide the functionalities of another. Means what? Within a model, one function will control the functionalities of another. Is nothing but a control coupling. Common coupling. Common means what? Okay, sharing the common data. Multiple models access the same global data. Global data, that is in common coupling. Global data, just now we discussed. Okay, the function will have local data and global data. Global data can share by all the functions, but the local data is used within the function. Okay, so if at all these models are sharing the global data, then we call it as a common coupling. Content coupling. Okay, among the coupling, if the content of one coupling is used by the another coupling, then we call it as a content coupling. See, in content coupling, one model can directly access or modify the content of another model. Okay, so this is nothing but a content coupling. Okay, so data coupling it means nothing but they are sharing the data. Stamp coupling means what? They are sharing the these two models. Okay, if the models will share the data structure, then we call it as a data coupling. If the one model is controlling the another model, then we call it as a control coupling. Common coupling. Okay, if they are sharing the global data, then we call it as a common coupling. Content coupling. Okay, so the content of one model can modify the content of another model. This is nothing but a content coupling. Now come to the cohesion. We call it as a cohesion. It is a measure of degree to which the elements of the models are functionally related. C means here cohesion means what? Within the model. Within the model, how the functions are related to each other is nothing but a cohesion. So this we call it as a functional cohesion, sequential cohesion, communication cohesion, procedure cohesion, temporal cohesion, and then logical, then coincidental cohesion. Coincidental cohesion. In this, the functional cohesion we have the highest priority. Then coincidental cohesion will have a lower priority. Now we'll discuss about these cohesions. Okay. Now functional cohesion. In this, the elements of the models are grouped which are belonging to the same well-defined functions. Okay. So in this, the elements of the models are grouped which belonging to a single well-defined functions. So whatever model they are, they follow the same logic. They are grouped into a well-defined function. Okay. Now, sequential cohesion. Sequential cohesion, in these elements of the models are grouped in which output of one element serve as an input of another element. Okay. So within the model, the functions of one is taken, functions of one taken as output of one function will taken as input to another function. Okay. Another component. A component or element are the same thing. Communication cohesion. In this, the elements of the models are grouped which are executed sequentially and work on same data. Okay, the functions which are working in the same data and they will execute sequentially. That is nothing but common cohesion. Common cohesion. Now we come to procedure. Procedure means what? We have to follow in a systematic manner. That is one after the other. That is nothing but a procedure. So in this cohesion, in this the elements of the models are grouped together which are executed sequentially in order to perform a task. Okay. So in order to perform a task, then we have to follow some procedure. So we have to follow in a sequential order. That is nothing but a procedure cohesion. Now temporal means time. Okay. So in this, the elements of the models are organized such that they processed at a similar part of time. Similar part of time means at a time these functions will execute. At a time these functions will process at a time. All the functions will process at a time is nothing but a temporal cohesion. Now come to the logical cohesion. In this the logical categorized elements are put together into a model. So logically which are related to each other, those functions are put together is nothing but a logical cohesion. Now coincidental cohesion. This coincidental cohesion is an unplanned. It is an unplanned and random cohesion. Okay. So understanding and maintaining of this cohesion is difficult and there is a possibility of side effect whenever we are modifying in a model. So this is a coincidental cohesion is unplanned. Okay, it will not used in a coupling. Okay. Next we have software design approaches. Here we have two types of approaches. That is nothing but bottom-up approach and then top-down approach and then bottom-up approach. Okay, top-down approach. A top-down approach, this approach starts by identifying the major models of the system, decomposing them into a lower layer model until the design level of a detailed is achieved. Means what? Here we are having the a project. This project is software project is dividing into some models. Again these models are dividing into some submodels. Again these submodels are dividing into some elements or the components. Then we are following what in the design, what we are following from top to bottom. That is from the system. The system is dividing into models, the models are divided into submodels, again submodels are divided into some components. So this is nothing but a top-down approach. Now come to the bottom-up approach. Bottom-up approach is quite opposite to a top-down approach. Here what will happen? These elements are combined into a submodel. Okay, again these submodels are combined into a model. All models are combined to form a software project. Okay, so these are the two approaches that are used to design a project. Next, okay, thank you. I completed my session. Uh,
Correct.